of the Sigma training. My name's Kim Blake, and this session is on viewing invoices. I'll show you one slide with the agenda, and then I'll move into the live database. So in this session, I'll do a recap on viewing accounts, which we did in the previous session. Then we'll look at viewing invoices, and then what the available actions are for an invoice and what bulk actions you can perform. So I'll move into the live database, and as you can see, I'm in the tree configuration. I've already opened up the path, and I've come down to my main electricity meter here. So the account is associated with the meter, and I can either right click and configure, or I can click on the edit button. Now the first tab, the general tab, shows us the details about the meter, so that it's half hourly, we've got the serial number, we've got the MPAN, and the MPAN's here as well. Tab I want to show you is the contract tab. So in the contract tab, we can see a list of all of the accounts associated with this site. And the one that's ticked is the account that's associated with this particular meter. So we can see the account number, its end power, and we've got a start and end date. This meter has got the tick box here for billing, so this is why we can see the details for the account, and that's why we can add or create a new account from here as well. We can also see the contract that it's associated to. So the contract holds the pence per unit, standing charge, VAT, etc. And all of those rates can be updated when the contract changes. If you've got a contract in here, when you put an invoice in and you've got the validation set up, the invoice will say how much the pence per unit is, for example. It will then look at the contract to see if it matches. If it doesn't match, then the validator will fail. So we have the meter. The account is within the meter. It can either be created here or on a separate page. That meter is associated with the contract, and that contract has then got the rates within it. If we're looking at all accounts, if I come to the invoice validation column, now you notice I haven't cancelled out of that page because I've not made any changes. I don't need to save it. I can just move to another page. So invoice validation, portfolios, and manage accounts. If I clear the filter, we can then see the 6 accounts that I've got in the database. You can use the filters to filter the data that you see in the grid. And then once you've got data in the grid, you can then search within there. Some things have a hyperlink. You can click on a hyperlink, in this case, the account number. And we can see the details about the account and edit if you want to. Similarly, with any open queries, we can see the details of those queries, and there's a hyperlink there to open and edit the query. Lots of right-click actions. And if you've got more than one account selected, you've then got bulk actions. You can add accounts from here. You can create a view, so move the columns, delete columns, and save that view for when you log in. And you can import and export accounts. And then lastly, over on the right here, you've got the Excel or the CSV to export the details in the grid. So that's a quick overview of the accounts. I'm going to move on to the invoices. So again, the invoice validation menu, this time down to invoices, and then manage invoices. So we can search for path, portfolio, supplier, account number, lots of different things that you can use as search criteria. The only one or two, that are pre-filled is the date range, is the last 3 months. And then the default is to display invoices and credit notes only, not accruals. So if I just clear that filter, it's taken out the date range, and I've only got 22 invoices in my database. And I'll take out that search, and it's going to show me those 22 invoices. Only defaulting to 10 on a page at the moment. So if I just change that, then we'll see all of them. So just going back to the search for a moment, as I said, you've got the different criteria across here. If you want to display accruals, you can either tick it and apply, and you can see now I've got 24. Or if you just wanted to see the accruals, untick the other two and apply. I'll take it back to the standard, which is the invoice and the credits. Various different invoice statuses that you can add in or take out, and similarly with the different payment methods you can add in or take out. Once you've done your filtering at the top, or like myself, you've done the clear filter, you'll see all of your invoices. You can still search that grid. So once you've got your invoices in there, you can put in part of a number or all of the number. And you'll see here it's finding the account number. If I put retail, you can see it's finding those with retail in the site. Or if I put KLG, it's finding KLG within an account number, and on some of them within the invoice number. We've got the scroll bar at the bottom. So you'll notice here I'm using one of my saved views. So I have an invoice view. And so this is how I want to see them when I first open up the screen. So we've got the company, the site name. We've got some hyperlinks here that we'll come back to for the account number, the invoice number, and the open queries. But you can see the rest of the columns. So the meter number relates to the MPAN or the MPRN. And then you've got all the other details, supplier, invoice dates, invoice totals, consumption. With these, you've got some sums at the bottom. And then with the invoice status, you've got failed or user passed. It could be any of the statuses that we see up here, so new, invalidation, etc. And the same with the payment methods. We've got the different payment methods in there. You've got the ability to look at or add notes. And if I scroll back to the beginning, we'll have a look at those hyperlinks. So I've not filtered to any of my invoices because I've only got 22 in the database, but I have filtered within the grid to anything with KLG. And that brings me up the ones for this account number. So if I click on the account number, we can see here the details about the account. So the portfolio that it's in, so every account has to be in a portfolio. The account number, the fuel type, start and end dates of an account, whether or not it's open or closed, to name a few. There's the linked meters at the bottom here. And then there's another 2 tabs with any account codes or any estimate details that we've got in the database. I could edit that if I wanted to change anything. So if the account date was wrong or if it's closed, we could edit from here as well. I'll just cancel for now. And I'll show you then the invoice. So if I click on the invoice number, it opens up a pop-up with the view invoice details. 4 tabs of data, the first one being the main header details. So the portfolio again, the account number, supplier, etc. And your start and end dates, and then a summary. So an invoice and a calculated total. So what's been entered against what Sigma predicts. And then you've got your differences if there's any differences. The consumption details tab shows us the details about the readings or the consumption. So we've got 2 lines here of data. We've got previous reads, read dates. We've got the present read dates, and then we've got the consumption. So we can see in total the consumption for this particular invoice. We've got the charges summary tab, which shows us the 2 lines of data and the charges. We've got any CCL charges, the subtotals, and then the VAT. Last, we've got a validation summary. So this validation summary will show us whether or not this invoice passed or failed validation. And it will show us how many checks it's performed and how many it passed or failed. Again, the option to edit, so we could edit the invoice from here. And then we have various little options across the bottom here. So I'll start off with the first one. So viewing the invoice history. So this will show us as default the last 12 months, but I can change that to the last 24 or all time, which will show us all of the invoices for this account. It's automatically hiding accruals, but we could change that. And it's automatically hiding credits, but again, you can change that. So it's found the invoice history here. So we've got a list of all of the invoices, the dates, the total consumption, the costs, status and the payment status, and again, those notes. And then we have the graph. So the graph is showing us the cost for each of those months. Very useful if you've got an invoice that's failed validation on cost or consumption, and you want to have a look at a bigger picture and see what the bills were for previous months. So that's the invoicing history. We've then got the queries, so manage queries. In here, you can see if there's any queries for that invoice, and there's a hyperlink there to open up that query and amend if necessary, or we can add in a new query from here. Then there's the notes page. So this will show any notes. You can delete or edit a note or add in a new note. Attachments, you can add in attachments and then view them. And then lastly, the PDF. So if I export, it will export for me, and we've got the representation there. So if I come back into Sigma, as I said, you can edit from here, but this one I'll just close, and it will take me back to the accounts page and the filtering that I'd already done to show me those 5 invoices. Okay, I'm just going to take out the KLG here and just show you some of the other options you have. So as before, as I said, you can add in your own views. You can create a view and then save it. With this particular screen, you can also do some filtering. So if I drag and drop the site column, you'll see now that the invoices are in site order. If I then add in the account column, I've now got them in site order by account. And then I could save that view. So whatever view works best for you. Let's have a look at some of the options we've got on the right view. So I'm going to change this back to where I was. Got my KLG in there, and I'm going to show you some of the right click options. So if I right click or use the little button to the right hand side and show you those options. So we can edit. So that would be the same as viewing the invoice details and then clicking on edit. I can copy an invoice. We can view the invoice details, which we did with hyperlink, same action. There's a view validation overview. So this will show me the validation and what it's failed on. So if I was assessing this invoice, I can see what it's failed on. If I wanted to see the past as well, I could just tick the past and that will show me all the things that it's passed on as well. But by default, it showed me what it's failed on. Back to the right-click options. I can add in a bill, so we'll cover that in a different section. I can set the invoice status. So you can see here the options. So this invoice is to either reject it or to use a past. So it might be that it's failed validation, I've checked it and I want to pass it. So I can change it to use a past, or indeed if I don't want it or I just want to reject it, we can choose reject. You can set the payment status. So you've got the options there for the different payment status. You can add in a credit note. You can export the account payable information. So that's if you're creating a file. We'll cover that in more detail on a different session. You've got a validation report. So that opens up a different page, gives you the option of PDF, Excel, etc., but it will automatically open the PDF for you and give you the details of the invoice there. It's a different way of looking at those details. An authorization report. So if you need to do something like a paper copy to get authorization, there's one already there in the database for you. Right click again. I can delete the invoice or I can add a new query. So we can do it from the hyperlink here, or you can add it directly from there. So they're the right-click options. What you can also do is some bulk actions. So if you have more than one invoice selected, the bulk action option happens here. So we can either right-click or go on the bulk action drop-down. And these things will be done in bulk. So if you wanted to delete some invoices because they'd gone in incorrectly, for instance, rather than deleting each individual invoice, you can bulk select the ones you want to delete and do it this way. If you were doing it for all of the invoices here, you can just tick and it will select all of them and you can do those bulk actions. If you were setting a payment status, for example, and you wanted on all 22, if I take out the KLG here, and depending on what view you have, so if we had 10 showing and you chose all of them, it will only show the 10 that are in the grid at the moment. So if you can see here, 10 selected out of 22. So if I want all 22, I need to change this to anything, in this case, above 25, and then select. And then I've got all of them. Then I could do bulk actions, set payment status, and then change the status there. So plenty of actions from here. I'll just untick all of those. We've got the search facility at the top, which defaults, as I said, to the last 3 months and invoices and credits. If you want to clear that, just click clear filter and you see everything, or make some changes and then apply. Once you've got the data in the grid, use the search facility there to then narrow that grid down. You can add invoices from here. I'll do that in a different session. And then you've got some hyperlinks in the grid, so you can use the hyperlinks, and you've also got your right-click options. So that's the invoices page. If If I just find the help file for you, and you can see I've come down the list, I've come to the invoices section, and then we've got manage invoices. And this explains all of those search options and the grouping. A separate page on searching. The available actions is on another page. Viewing the invoice details is on a third page. Okay, so that covers that section. If I just come back into Sigma, if you've got any questions, please let me know, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.